Justin Brewer, the designated hitter, Brewer.
Here's the designated hitter, Justin Brewer. This is a very, very confident Sooners team coming in to this Nationals. Again, last year they had just won their first title, and they made it all the way to a qualifying game versus the Chatham Ironmen, losing in extra innings, coming up just short of the semifinals. They went on to win their second straight Nova Scotia Senior League title after that. They're in first place of the Nova Scotia League this year after the regular season. And they are really, this is a confident group coming into Nationals. Runners at third and second for Justin Brewer. He's a DH pitcher. There's our first ball that just misses us here in the press box. That's going to be a fun activity for the fans here this weekend, seeing if any of those foul balls come up and knock us out of our little perch up here on top of the shack. 0-1 on Justin Brewer. 0-2. Already I see folks walking around with a very envious look up at us, giving us kind of the odd stink eye at how good we have it up here. This is about as good as we got the lawn chairs. We even got space for our coffees. 0-2, right down the first base line. If you come out to the field, if you're watching locally, make sure you give us a wave. Pop by and say hello. You can feel free to climb up the ladder and hang out with us for a bit. As long as you bring a coffee. 0-2. The third base, a wicked hop for Gerald Butt. Denny will score. They'll keep Shepard at third. We'll see how that's scored. We'll leave that for now. That was a wicked bounce for Gerald Butt at third base. So the third run will come home in the form of Matt Denny. Jordan Shepard will stay at third base, and Justin Brewer to first. 3 hits or 4 hits in the inning so far, and we'll see if that's the 5th or an error. I would give a hit on that, but again, I am not an official scorer, nor anywhere as near qualified to be. There's Phil Brown, the outstanding right fielder. Again, this is a dude who could play center field for any team at the tournament, but willingly goes over to right field to accommodate Chris Head, who definitely one of the best center fielders in the country. Ironically, it was a seeing eye ball to the outfield right center last year between Brown and Head that scored the game-winning run. There's a little number down the third base line, and that was tough going for Gerald Butt. Can't field it cleanly. That'll be an infield single and an RBI for Phil Brown. The only chance that Butt would have had on that would have been to barehand it and come across with a good throw. And Phil Brown with good speed probably would have beat it out anyways.
Number 44.
4-0.
Forrest, second baseman Forrest.
For the Sooners. Here's Josh Forrest, the second baseman. So put Phil Brown at first with an RBI. Justin Brewer goes to second. Forrest, one of these young Sooners. Came up through the Sydney baseball system. They're going to go talk to Scott Goosney. Justin Stevens checking in on Twitter. Thank you, Justin. The venerable catcher for the Dartmouth Moosehead Drive. Big year for the Moosehead Drive. Let's see if they can reclaim the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League title. They're about a second place. They're in second place right now. They're scheduled to play the Halifax Pelham Canadians in the first round of the Nova Scotia Senior League. There's Butt this time to second for Buckingham. Double play that ends the inning. Well done. Butt to Buckingham to Ewart. Forrest hits into the 5-4-3, and that'll do it for the Sooners to end this rally. But they put up 4 runs. We'll see how many hits here. I've got 5. We'll see if it's 6 or an error.
Scotia in the bottom of the first. They scored 4 runs on 6 hits. No Newfoundland and Labrador errors and 1 man left on base.
So 6 hits,
Scotia 4.
no errors. Give an RBI to Justin Brewer. 6 hits, none left or 1 left on. No errors. 4 runs come home for the Sooners here in the bottom of the first. And that's the way we go to our top of the second on Bell Aliant Community 1. The leader in local sports webcasting are just settling in here to our coverage of the 2015 Canadian Senior National Baseball Championships. Great to have you with us. And a good old Atlantic Canada game to get started. The St. John's Winmar Capitals, who defeated the Corner Brook Barons to get here, and the Sydney Sooners, who defeated the Halifax Pelham Canadians to make their trip to Chatham. Cam Marling out there for a second inning of work. Again, Justin Stevens checking in. Great to have Justin with us. The catcher for the Dartmouth Moosehead Drive. Heather Fudge, here's a great tweet from Heather Fudge, watching in St. John's. Watching from St. John's, Newfoundland, but Sydney is her hometown. Let's go Sooners. Cheering on the Sooners of Sydney from St. John's. And of course, a few friends watching from across the country, maybe not familiar with Atlantic Canada. These two programs, or two areas, very connected, Cape Breton and Newfoundland and Labrador. Again, two of the friendliest places you'll ever go to. Renowned for their hospitality and absolutely beautiful parts of the country. And there for a strike. Here's Gerald Butt, the third baseman. Butt, O'Neill, Ewart, and Power. Hit well to right field, but Phil Brown settles under it and makes the catch. Nicely done for Phil. And 4 up, 4 down so far for Cam Marling. Mike O'Neill, the DH.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 1.
Coming up here.
O'Neill, the designated hitter, O'Neill.
For the Winmar Capitals. Game time temperatures right now in the low 20s with humidity in the mid 20s, so there's a very gentle breeze blowing to left field. Overcast skies, no threat of rain though. And they're expecting this to burn off and the sun will come out. We're calling for temperatures in the mid 30s here come later on with the humidity. Marc-Andre is our cameraman. Jamie Como, our producer. And they're getting started around 11 o'clock at Waldo Henderson. There's a foul ball that's just going to get over the tent and past the Community 1 trailer and off off one of the porta potties. So that could be an interesting situation. Somebody might be coming out of using a porta potty and have a foul ball come right down on them. Just missing for Cam Marling. He thought he had his exit pitch or his strikeout pitch there. So Heather, great to have you with us watching in St. John's. Good start for the Sooners. That one just off. You can see the sun every once in a while making an appearance and shining brightly down here at beautiful Ironman Field. The home of the Ironmen. This is one of the great baseball fields in Canada. Folks around here in Atlantic Canada, they'll put this field up against anybody or any field across the country in terms of character and history, just natural beauty. Down the right field line, Phil Brown gives chase, and that'll go foul by the bullpen. On the chat for you friends again watching from away who aren't familiar with the area, this is on the Chatham side of Miramichi City. There's Chatham and Newcastle along the beautiful Miramichi River, separated by a bridge that connects the two. And Ironmen Park right on the Chatham side near the water, just over the bridge from Newcastle. Cam Marling makes the play, takes his time, and a strike to Ken Long. Mike O'Neill out 1-3. Corey Ewart the first baseman. Really a great situation, and of course they have the beautiful park here, Ironmen Park, but then Waldo Henderson. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to check it out on Saturday. But Waldo Henderson, also a beautiful baseball field in Chatham Head. In there for a strike from Cam Marling. So you don't always have that situation where the second field is a beautiful ballpark as well, but talking to the locals, they say it's just as nice. It doesn't have the same outfield wall, obviously. That is one of the signatures of Ironmen Park. High and inside, 1 and 2. 300 feet down the left field line, but of course you got the 16-foot little green monster that goes all the way to left center to contend with as well. Strikeout pitch for Cam Marling on Corey Ewart. And there's his first strikeout of the game. 6 up, 6 down so far for Cam. We go to the bottom of the second with the Sooners looking to build on a 4-0 lead. B. McLean Sports on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. I'll read your tweets on the air. We'll post our favorite tweets on the screen. Let me know where you're watching from, who you're cheering for. Love to hear some of the more long-distance locales. Who you're watching. All that stuff right there at B. McLean Sports on Twitter. As the Winmar Capitals back to the field. Goose knee out there for his second inning of work. 6 hits for the Sooners in the first. But going around the outfield, 300 feet to left with the 16-foot green monster that goes all the way to deep, or a long way to left center, pretty much all the way to center field. 385 straight away center field. And then down in left field, or right field, a really short porch in right. 315. So that is a big advantage for right-handed batter or left-handed batters. 315 in right field. Here's Chris Farrow. Again, one of these outstanding shortstops in the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League this season. Strike 1 on Farrow. Of course, Ian Lockhart anchors the group, the venerable shortstop for the Kentville Wildcats. He's been tearing it up for years in the circuit. Good chance for Gerald Butt, and a tough play there for Gerald. Can't make it. We'll see how that's scored. Again, I think even if he feels that cleanly with the throw, Chris Farrow's probably going to beat that out. So Chris Farrow at first base. And back to Chris Head at the top of the lineup. Chris Head, he's a former NSSBL MVP and perennially is amongst the leaders in the Nova Scotia circuit in all categories, especially average in hits, runs scored, stolen bases. Every once in a while gets up there at home runs, and look for him to be swinging at the first pitch. Farrow goes. That's a ball, and Farrow steals second. A nice scoop there, or pick by Buckingham on the tough throw. But Farrow has himself a stolen base. I talked to Chris Head in the past. He's not your prototypical leadoff man. He goes up there looking for that first pitch, and the first one he likes, he's usually swinging. That was called a ball. No strike call indicated anyway, so 1-0. There's a swing for a Head to short. Fielded cleanly by Kraus, and the throw across to get Chris. So Head out 6-3, can't advance the runner to third. And there's Kenny Long. His second appearance in as many innings. Kenny batting from the left side. Wearing number 45. Down low and inside. 1-0. Terry Hart on Twitter. Thank you, Terry. Great to have you with us. Swung on by Kenny Long. Over by the beer tent on the far side. Down the third base line, out of play. about 200 people here right now for this early morning game. Last night at the Home Run Derby, if you were with us, there were 1,600 people here. The attendance for the Home Run Derby. Bouncing ball down the first base line, just foul. 1 and 2 coming up on Kenny. 1,600 people here last night. Talking to some organizers, they feel pretty good that they can get 3,000 people in here. And I tell you what, if the Chatham Ironmen are playing on Sunday, late in the afternoon or evening, there will be 3,000 people here. To left field, that's going to slice fair and all the way to the green monster. Farrow will score easily, and Long has himself a stand-up RBI double. So Kenny Long, 2 for 2, with a run scored and an RBI here in the early going. And 5-0 for the Sydney Sooners. So here's Corey Christie, the third baseman. He had a single and a run scored in the first. Again, Corey, the old man of this group, to make fun of him. And he's the, I believe, 2011 Nova Scotia Senior League MVP. Over the top of the first pitch, bouncing down at home plate, foul. 0-1 on Christie. Got a great kind of rivalry day coming up here at Ironmen Park anyways. We have this Atlantic-Canada battle, and then we have Ontario versus Quebec in our next game. And then after that, the two prairie provinces, Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Down to first base, nicely fielded by Ewart. Good coverage by Gooseney. They'll get Christie. They're taking a big turn, but heading back is Kenny Long to third. So Christie out 3-1. And here's Matt Denny. Denny had an RBI single.
Number 20, Matt Denny, the catcher, Denny.
And then our nightcap, that's an 8 o'clock game after the opening ceremonies. First pitch in there for a strike. After the opening ceremonies, we'll see the host team, the Chatham Ironmen, versus the Kamloops Sun Devils. Or Sun Kings, sorry. Kamloops Sun Kings of British Columbia. Hello out there to all the teams watching. If you guys in the hotel or all you guys with later games are checking in, watching the coverage, get a sneak peek of what it looks like. Great to have you with us. Good luck today and for the rest of the weekend. Danny out in front of that first pitch, or that pitch. Roger Surrett will be over at Walter Henderson. Bill McLean here with you from Ironmen Park. Swing and a miss for Denny. And that'll do it for Matt. He's out on strikes, and that'll do it for the Sooners in the second inning. Gonna wait to see what we had on that Chris Farrow play here before we do your hits, errors. We're nowhere near the official scores table, so we got to wait for the PA announcement.
For Nova Scotia, in the bottom of the second, they scored 1 run on 1 hit. There was 1 Newfoundland and Labrador error and 1 man left on base.
So an error given to Gerald Butt on that Chris Farrow play. So an E5 there. 1 hit, 1 left on, 1 Newfoundland Labrador error, and 1 run comes across in the form of Chris Farrow on the RBI double by Kenny Long. And we go to the top of the third inning here, and a 5-0 Sooners lead from Ironmen Park in Chatham, New Brunswick. You're on Bell Aliant Community One, the leader in local sports webcasting in Atlantic Canada and the home of Atlantic Canadian senior baseball here in the region. We've had extensive coverage of the Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland Labrador circuits over the past 2 years. I hope to keep building and building what has been an incredible relationship. And of course, every year culminating with the Nationals last year in St. John's, this year in Chatham, and hopefully next year in beautiful Fredericton as they get ready to host the 2016 Nationals. A great stretch of hosting Canadian Senior National Championships in Atlantic Canada. B. McLean Sports on Twitter to reach out to me. Let me know where you're watching from, who you're cheering for. I'll read your comments on the air, and we'll post our favorite tweets on the screen as well. Any information you have about players, always love to hear that as well. St. John's Winmar Capitals. An incredible job they did, Mark Healy and that organizing committee last year, hosting nationals in St. John's and Mount Pearl. And there for a strike from left-hander Cam Marling. Talk about it as we go along. We'll see how long Marling is out there for. Start mentioning it now in case they have him on a pitch count. Cam Marling came down with leukemia in March. Really interesting, or really touching story for Cameron Marling. Again, he's been a dominant left-hander in Nova Scotia for years. In March, came down with leukemia and has been battling that ever since. It's now in remission. He's back on the mound. Every time talking to him a couple months ago in Sydney, we were doing a game there for Community One, and the interview actually you can see on East Coast Sports Show if you want to get to know Cam a little better. That's hit well to left field and down in front of Jordan Shepard. And there's the first hit for the Winmar Capitals.
Now batting for Newfoundland.
So the Capitals have their first hit. And it's Brent Power, the right fielder. Here's Dave Buckingham, the second baseman. But Cam, talking to him in Sydney, you can see it on East Coast Sports Show. It's right there on the site. Just click on videos, or you can see it on the front page. It's episode 10, I believe. And Cam talking about his battle back from leukemia. And every time he goes to the mound, he gets stronger and stronger. Talked about how early on it was, after a pitching appearance, he would generally feel pretty tired afterwards. But really, an incredible story, Marling coming back from that leukemia diagnosis. In there for a strike, 1-1 for Marling. So Brent Power at first base. No outs in the inning as the Winmar Capitals try to chip away at this 5-run deficit. The 1-1. Down low, inside, 2-1. Marling pitching from that stretch, that very, you can't really see it. Well, you can pretty much see it from your camera behind home plate. There's a lazy fly ball to center field. Chris Head making the catch. Again, tell you what, for teams out there watching, if you hit a ball to right center against the Sooners team, you better hope it has good pace and good location, because getting fly balls to that area to drop between Phil Brown and Chris Head will be a challenge. Steve Krause, the shortstop. But you can pick up on your camera there from behind home plate. In there for a strike. Marling with a very distinctive pitch from the stretch. He's got that front leg way out in front. He does a little tapping motion with his right foot. And his back is pretty much completely turned to the batter. If you're the batter, you can see his number when he comes to. Slow bouncing ball to Forrest. They'll go to second, to first, double play. 4-6-3 for the Sooners. Forrest to Farrow to Long. And 1-2-3 again will go the St. John's Winmar Capitals.
There are no runs on one hit. No Nova Scotia errors. Nobody left on base.
One hit, nobody left on base, no runs come across, and Cam Marling has faced the minimum through 9 innings, or through 3 innings. 9 up now, 9 down. That's the youth movement for the Sooners. Again, right there, that middle, infield middle of the diamond. That pretty much is a signature for them. Young Josh Forrest, young Chris Farrow, and they quickly turn that double play with Ken Long at the end of the inning. Eric Moffat on Twitter. Thank you, Eric Moffat. our broadcasters for Bell Aliant Community 1. Had the long 8 days last week in Fredericton doing the U18 Softball Nationals. Jamie McNeil on Twitter. Thank you, Jamie. Watching the boys back in Halifax. Sooners poised to make a run at Nationals. Great to have you with us back there in beautiful Halifax. This is from Ontario, Daniel Esty. Thank you, Daniel. Watching from Mississauga, getting ready for the Tecumseh Thunder. But cheering on, he's a New Brunswick guy, he's cheering on Fredericton and the Chatham Ironmen. So a New Brunswick guy now in Mississauga and getting ready to cheer on Tecumseh. The Thunder didn't have a representative last night at the Home Run Derby. They got stuck in, they had a travel delay, so they didn't have a representative at the Home Run Derby. And the coach in St. John's, Mark Healy. Thanks very much, Mark. Great to have you with us. Wishes he could be here in Chatham. Watching back there in St. John's, and of course cheering on the Capitals, Mark. One of the great local sport administrators and coaches there in St. John's, Newfoundland. Does so much work with St. John's baseball. And no doubt wishes he could be here in Chatham with the Winmar Capitals. Right now the Capitals through 3 innings, or 2.5 innings, sorry, trailing 5-0 to the Sooners.
Leading off the bottom of the third for Nova Scotia, number 32, Jordan Shepherd. The left fielder, Shepherd.
Here's Jordan Shepherd. Jordan had a double and an RBI back in the first inning and would come around to score the 4th run. Shepherd, the left fielder. And timeout called.
Now pitching number 44, Alex Walsh.
And a pitching change for St. John's. Alex Walsh now on the mound for the Capitals. So 44, Alex Walsh, the right-hander, takes over. So you can close the book on Scott Goosney. 2 innings pitched, 5 runs earned, 6 runs unearned, 7 hits. He had the strikeout. Didn't walk anybody. He had good control, but the Sooners really singled him to death. And that's, if you're first time watching the Sooners, that's what they do. This is not a big bashing baseball team. They just single you to death and small ball you relentlessly. A high lazy ball to fly to left field.
Now batting for Nova Scotia.
First out of the inning for Shepherd.
Justin Brewer, the designated hitter, Brewer.
Justin Brewer. Our friends at Baseball Canada checking in. Great to have you guys with us. Thanks very much for that. And thanks for all your support this weekend with the broadcasts and our coverage here at Community 1. Make sure you check out the website baseball.ca. Thanks very much, guys. That's just foul down the third base side. Ontario and Quebec coming up in your 1 o'clock game. 4 o'clock, the Prairie Battle, Manitoba versus Saskatchewan. And then 8 o'clock, Chatham and the Kamloops Sun Kings of British Columbia. Saskatoon Smoking Guns back this year. They're playing for Saskatchewan. And our first look at the Brandon Cloverleafs from Manitoba. Pitch just off the plate. 10:41 here in Atlantic Canada, so they're about 20 minutes away from getting started at Waldo Henderson. Just across town in Chatham Head. Bouncing ball to third. Nice play by Gerald Butt. Good throw across. Nicely done for Gerald, and Brewer out 5-3. So the Capitals starting to settle in defensively.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 24, Phil Brown.
There's Phil Brown, the right fielder. Phil had a single and an RBI. From the stretch, and Alex Walsh. Low and outside. Alex trying to get through a 1-2-3 first inning here for him. The 1-0. In there for a strike, 1-1. Bouncing ball, that's foul down the third base side. Breeze picking up a bit. It's blowing pretty much right across your camera towards left field. So kind of right across the field as opposed to out or in. But really not that significant, probably about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour. Just getting enough is Phil Brown. Should Phil reach, we'll see Josh Forrest. Bottom of the third here, our opening game of the tournament. Every single game webcast from beautiful Ironmen Park and Waldo Henderson. High in the air to right field, a lazy fly ball for power. He'll settle under and make the catch, and the Capitals have their first 1-2-3 inning of the weekend. No runs, no hits, none left on base. We go to the top of the fourth. Nearly halfway home here in our opening game.
At the end of 3 complete, Nova Scotia 5. Newfoundland and Labrador no score.
Back to the top of the order after this, Scott Stokely, James Walsh, Mike Dyke, and Gerald Butt, should anyone reach. If you're in the area, make sure you come out to the ball yard. It is really set up nicely here at Ironmen Park. They got concessions all down the first base side. They have beer tents on the right field and left field side. A souvenir stop where you can pick up all your Baseball Canada and Chatham Ironmen merchandise. And great seats all around. They've added some extra bleachers. Not a bad seat in the house. And of course, again, thanks to the organizing committee, we may have... I feel pretty good that we have the best seats in the house right now. Up here on the porch they've built for us. Down the first base side. Amazing what carpenters can do. We were here last night, and Wally on the organizing committee said, "Yeah, we can build you something right there on top of that shack." And I couldn't build a bookshelf of 2 levels with instructions, so I couldn't even put my head around it. And I got here at 7 a.m. and sure enough, in time to go on the air, we have this beautiful little broadcast area right on top of the shed here down the first base side.
Leading off the top of the fourth for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 14, Scott Stockley. Second to baseman, check that catcher, Stockley.
So here's Scott Stockley. Lined out to shortstop Chris Farrow back in the first inning. Just above the belt for a ball. Jeff Reeves, thank you, Jeff. Reaching out on Twitter. In there for a strike, 1-1. Jeff sending all his best to Team Nova Scotia, the Sooners. And there for a strike, 1-2. Again, for you folks from watching away, these are 2 of the great franchises in Atlantic Canada, too. That's a little nubber to second base for Josh Forrest. Fields it cleanly. The throw across the long, and Stockley now 0 for 2. 4-3. But this is 2 of the great franchises in Atlantic Canada. Both teams do things really well. The Winmar Capitals, of course, playing at beautiful St. Pat's ballpark there, and right in the middle of St. John's. It's one of the great venues in the area. All 1-1. And of course, the Sooners at Susan McEachran Park in Sydney. In there for a strike 0-2. If you go to a Sooners game, they got the great canteen, the barbecue, a beer tent. They have a souvenir stand just loaded with Sooners merchandise. 1-2. They always take really good care of us when we go there to do a game for Community One. And of course last year in St. John's, the folks with St. John's Baseball took exceptional care of us, bringing the Nationals from St. Pat's Field and Mount Pearl. Off the backstop, 1-2. Out in front, and Walsh down on strikes.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 23, Mike Dyke, center fielder Dyke.
That's the second strikeout for Cam Marling. There's Mike Dyke, the center fielder. Mike flew out to his counterpart, Chris Head, back in the first. Pitch just off the plate. Bouncing ball to short, Chris Farrow. Good throw across. 1-2-3. Go the Winmar Capitals. Here in at the top of the fourth. Chris Farrow, he is a vacuum cleaner there at shortstop for this Sooners team. Farrow will come up. Young Josh Forrest starting things off. Chris Farrow, and then back to the top of the order with Chris Head here in the fourth inning.
Congratulations, Pierre, and thank you for your continued support.
So this is Kara Harrington. Thank you, Kara. Glad you're enjoying. Husband on the technical committee. That's great. And watching there in Ontario, so she's really happy to be able to check in. Thank you, Kara. Husband working hard here on the technical committee. Jordan McCallum. Thank you, Jordan. Sending a shout out, cheering on Team Nova Scotia. Click on Jordan here. He plays for Truro, right? Jordan plays for the Bearcats in the Nova Scotia Senior League. Bearcats back to the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League playoffs for the second straight year. They'll face off against the Sooners team, actually, the Bearcats and the Sooners in the first round. I shouldn't say that yet. They actually might still have a chance at third place to play the Dartmouth Moosehead Dry, I believe.
Second baseman Forrest.
Josh Forrest. Pitch just missing inside. Josh grounded in to the inning-ending double play back in the first. Above the belt, 2-0. Forrest, Farrow, and then Chris Head. Eric Moffat on Twitter. Thank you, Eric. Great to have you with us. Curveball in there for a strike, 2-1. Moffat, of course, one of our lead broadcasters on Community One, and also gained national recognition during his PA work on the beach volleyball at the Pan Am Games in Toronto. 3-1. Him and fellow Fredericton native Ray Tretiak were on the PA and the music, respectively. Did an incredible job there in Toronto. the 3-1. Swung on to second, and nice play actually by the first baseman Ewert. Great coverage by Alex Walsh, and that'll do it for Forrest. He's 0 for 2. But that looked like it was going to be a second baseball, but good range for Ewert, sorry. Ewert to Walsh. Somebody with a Harley Davidson behind us that needs a muffler check. I feel like I'm back in my apartment in Dartmouth right now. That Harley Davidson ripping past. Clean single to left field for Chris Farrell. So Farrell now 0 for 1. And Josh Forrest out 3-1 for the first out. Here's Chris Head. Chris 0 for 2. Down to second, Chris Farrow has his second stolen base. But those, I don't know what the deal with people in those Harley Davidsons is. They clip the mufflers to make them sound even louder. They get a rise out of driving around in something that scares the life out of you when they start them up. You can hear them for miles. Pitch just low. Good lead for Farrow at second. That's in the dirt. Now 3-0 on Chris Head. We'll see Ken Long after Chris. A 4-pitch walk for Chris Head. So runners at second and first, the single by Farrow, Chris Head the walk, and the Winmar Capitals find themselves in trouble again. Really good speed on the bases right now in Farrow and Head. Daniel Esty on Twitter talking about the home run derby last night. Missed it, man, oh man. I tell you what, compared to last year in St. John's, the home run derby was a really wet, rainy night in St. Pat's or in St. John's, and they weren't even sure if they were going to have the home run derby, and the ball was not carrying, to say the least. Guys had a real hard time going yard last year in the home run derby, but last night here in Ironmen Park, the temperature or the conditions were perfect. Hardly any wind, a slight overcast, and the ball was leaving the yard. Jody Peterson of the Fredericton Royals won the home run derby. 15 home runs in the first round, and then in the second and third round, he had to just beat 7 and 9, I believe, to win. And each batter was given 4 minutes, and both times Jody had surpassed the amount he needed to in about 2 minutes. It was just absolute domination last night by Jody Peterson in that home run derby. But with that said, John Lewis of the Kamloops Sun Kings, he had quite himself a night as well. He may have had the most impressive home runs. Lewis of the Sun Kings, he had some bombs to left field that were just unbelievable. To left field. And a nice play out there by Walsh, getting in to make the catch. So James Walsh in left field retires Ken Long. There's Corey Christie, the third baseman. Christie singled And grounded out to the first baseman. He's 1 for 2. Scored a run back in the first. It's a big out right here. Christie with 2 outs and Chris Head on the run from first. Anything in the gap or down the line is probably going to bring home 2 runs. And blow this one open. In there for a strike. Swung on by Christie, foul down the first base side. Jamie McNeil on Twitter making a great point. You know, running game is going to be so critical for the Sooners with all these rabbits in that lineup. For you friends from watching away, the Sooners, if you know, you say an American League team and a National League team, if you will, this is a National League baseball team. It is all about pitching and defense and small ball and speed on the bases. For you old school fans, almost kind of remind you of like those 1980s St. Louis Cardinals teams, if you will. Off the end of the bat for Christie. And that's not to say they don't have power in the line. Broke his bat there. That's not to say they don't have any power in the lineup. Chris Head can go long on you. Matt Denny from that number 4 spot. And Corey Christie with that short right field porch at 315 here at Ironmen. But for the most part, this is a team that just, you don't really have any breaks in their lineup. And they'll just hit single after single after single on you. Move guys along. Take the extra bag. Christie. That's going to be a looping liner, second baseman Buckingham. So nice play by Buckingham, ranging to his right. And that'll do it for the threat for the Sooners in the 4th inning. Sooners send 5 men to the plate. They get 1 hit. They'll leave 2 on. No runs come across. No Newfoundland Labrador errors.
No runs on 1 hit. No Newfoundland Labrador errors. And 2 men left on base.
And we'll see if the St. John's Winmar Capitals can get something going here in the 5th inning. So far, they have sent the minimum to the plate. 12 men up, 12 men down. They got 1 hit back in the 3rd inning. Brent Power had a single, but then a 4-6-3 double play by Steve Krause ended that. So, so far, only 12 men have come to the plate for St. John's through 4 innings.
If it's a home run, you got the ball going, whatever, over the fence, zoom out with your way runners. Don't just pan into it, zoom all the way out till you see a run.
And B. McLean Sports on Twitter. Great to have you with us here. Settle into a weekend of National Senior Baseball. 16 games here from Ironmen Park, 12 games from Waldo Henderson. Championship Sunday begins at 7:30 on Sunday night. Bronze medal game mid-afternoon. Semi-final games on Sunday morning and early afternoon. Crossover qualifiers on Saturday night at 7. An all-round robin up till then. Roger Surrett over at Waldo Henderson. And Bill McLean here with you from Ironman. Roger and I will switch on Saturday. I'll make the trip to Waldo, and Roger will be here at Ironmen Park. Marc-Andre is our cameraman, and Jamie Como, our producer. Our executive producer is Brian Fisher. Cam Marling out there for his 5th inning of work. And only 1 hit surrendered so far by Cam. Again, this is a big move by the Sooners. Not a big move, but completely different than last year when they saved Marling to the very end and again nearly didn't get him out of their arsenal. They had to win a game late in the round robin to qualify for the crossover. And finally, they were able to unleash Marling. And again, he pitched an incredible game. But John Saunders, on one good leg, hit a 3-run home run off Cam in the 5th inning. And that would push it to extra innings where the Ironmen would go on to win. But you can see that on my YouTube page. Just go to Bill McLean on YouTube. I put up a lot of highlights. And John Saunders pulling the Kirk Gibson after he got injured earlier in the game. A change-up that Matt Denny wanted on the outside of the plate, and Marling put it right down the middle. And John Saunders went long for a 3-run home run and then hobbled around the bases. And the Ironmen were so fired up afterwards that the umpire had to give him the gears about getting that next batter up to the plate. So Gerald Butt at first base after the hit by pitch. Pitch high and away. Starting to get hot in Chatham. Again, it's going to be a hot day. The temperatures will get up into the mid-30s with the humidex. Actually started the day nice and cool with overcast skies. Perfect for the boys as they were building the press box here. In there for a strike from Marling, and that'll be a strikeout of Mike O'Neill. That's the third strikeout for Cam Marling. First out of the inning, here's Corey Ewart in the 5th inning. We're cruising along in this one. Again, next game at 1 o'clock. As the morning turns into afternoon here in Chatham, the temperatures rising. Decent lead at first for Gerald Butt. Pitch just missing. The 2 home run derbies participants here, Gerald Butt of the Capitals and Matt Denny of the Sooners, they struggled last night in the home run competition. Gerald eventually had 3. I think Matt finished with 2, if I recall. Butt fakes the go and fouled off the backstop. Marling from the stretch. A little cloud cover again for a bit of a break for the fellas. Big game here. You know, you get a nice win, and you can take the rest of the day off, get ready for Friday, get back to the hotel. It's one advantage of playing the first game of the tournament. High in the air to center, Chris Head giving chase. Farrow going out and makes the catch. Butt will scamper back to first, but there's Chris Farrow. You see that range. He made that catch in short right field, which is normally, if anybody's going to get that, it's going to be the second baseman, center fielder, or right fielder. And Chris Farrow from shortstop makes the catch. And that was a right-handed batter at the plate, so Farrow would have been playing to the third base side of second. Unbelievable. The scoop catch for Chris Farrow. And here's Brent Power. He's got the 1 hit so far for the Capitals. Throw over to first base. Now, Mark Healy, you guys watching out there from Newfoundland, Labrador, I'm not sure what happened this year with the Winmar Capitals and Corner Brook Barons. In there for a strike. It's been a whirlwind tour. I was during that when you guys were playing in Corner Brook, I was in Yarmouth for the Old Timers, and I believe I was watching in Corner Brook was leading 3-2, but I never did see how that one finished. between the Caps and the Barons. So if you know who won this year and who's destined for Fredericton in 2016, let me know. Gerald Butt goes, a swing and a miss, the throw down to second on a bounce, and sliding in safely will be Gerald Butt. So Gerald in there for a single or for a stolen base. Put him at second base into scoring position. But Brent Power now with 2 strikes. Swing and a miss, out on strikes is Brent Power. Marling's 4th strikeout, that'll end the inning. The Capitals send 4 men to the plate. No hits, 1 left on, no Sydney errors. And we'll go to the bottom of the 5th in a 5-0 game here for the Sooners with the 4, 5, 6 hitters coming up. Jordan Shepard, Justin Brewer, and Phil Brown. Or sorry, Denny, Shepard, and Brewer. And should anyone reach, we'll see Phil Brown. Terry Gallivan on Twitter. Thank you, Terry. Watching in baseball friendly Oromocto. Great to have you guys with us, Oromocto. For your friends from away, just outside Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Once again, tournament organizers would like to acknowledge the major sponsor of 2015 Baseball Canada Senior Bank Championship, Miramichi Honda.
But yeah, that's one of the highlights of the summer for our baseball coverage. That St. John or that Newfoundland Labrador Senior A Finals. And they split the series between Corner Brook and St. John's. They had the first 3 games in St. John's at St. Pat's Ball Field, and then they go to Corner Brook for games 4 to 7 at Jubilee Field there in Corner Brook. And if you think that seems kind of like a disadvantage, had to have 4 games in a row at one field, well, let's just say the road from St. John's to Corner Brook is not an easy one to travel. You're looking at about 7 or 8 hours on the highway through Newfoundland Labrador to get from St. John's to Corner Brook. So they go a long way over the course of 2 weekends to play that series. But in your life, if you haven't already, for all you guys again from away, sometime make sure you get over to Newfoundland Labrador and see the province. It is just absolutely beautiful. One of the most beautiful locations in the world.
Leading off the bottom of the 5th for Nova Scotia, number 29.
Here's Matt Denny. Denny had a single back in the first inning and an RBI, and then struck out back in the second. Just missing off the plate, 1-0. Swung on to left field, and that's going to bounce in front of Walsh. Good job to keep it in front. Throw comes in a second on a skip, and Buckingham has it. Matt Denny, 2 for 3, with 2 singles now.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 32, Jordan Shepard, left fielder Shepard.
I believe, and if you're starting to think about mercy rule here, as we're in the bottom of the 5th, I do believe it's 7 runs through 5 for the home team. And you can correct me if I'm right or wrong out there on Twitter. Just off the plate, 1-0. Up high, 2-0. The runner at first is Denny. No threat to steal is Matt. In there for a strike. Denny, of course, didn't play on the first Sooners team that won its NSSBL title, but then was able to join the team in St. John's last year, and then finally got a title of his own a month later when the Sooners defeated the Canadians. Not a bad lead for Matt at first base. Pitch to the plate. And in the dirt. Three and one. Just outside for ball four. Shepard will take first base. So a hit, or a single and a walk. Runners at second and first. Justin Brewer coming to the plate. Sooners again threatening here in the fifth inning.
Justin Brewer, the designated hitter, Brewer.
And this is a special thanks to Wally and the committee here. This broadcast area. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it throughout the weekend. This is the good life up here. Right now, 16 games doesn't seem like enough. Bunt down the first base side, good sacrifice. Runners to third and second. Again, this is something that all Sooners are always prepared to do. Give themselves up to move runners across. So the sacrifice bunt for Justin Brewer. He's 1 for 2 with a single and an RBI and the sac bunt.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 24, Phil Brown, the right fielder, Brown.
Phil Brown. Phil had a single and an RBI and then flew out to his counterpart in right field back in the third. So I do believe a single, if both runs come home. 10 runs. Okay, thank you, Mark Healy. It is 10 runs is the mercy rule through 5 innings. Paul Doucette checking in on Twitter. Thank you, Paul. Paul, the one of the mainstays for the Sooners. The veteran right-handed pitcher. High in the air to short right center. And nice running catch. Denny fakes and heads back to third base. But a nice running catch there. That was not easy for power. So Phil Brown again flies out to right field. There's Josh Forrest. He'll now have to try to bring these runs home. So thanks again, Coach Mark Healy. 10 runs is the mercy rule through 5. Got a whole bunch of tweets coming in. We'll read these here as we move along and at the break. St. John's did win the provincial championships 4-2, best of 7. Cape Breton was up 2-1. And St. John's won 3 straight at Jubilee Field in Corner Brook to clinch. So thanks very much, Coach Healy. So St. John's again, they'll be back in Fredericton next year. And Mario T, thank you, Mario, also giving me that information about St. John's and Corner Brook. Thank you, Mario. Mario, the Cubs fan. Cubs took it on the chin last night. John Lester knocked around. They got a tough loss to the Tigers. Runners at third and second. From the stretch, just missing inside, is Alex Walsh. 2 balls and a strike. 2-1, 2 outs, runners at third and second. Here comes the pitch to Forrest. Swung on to right field. Denny will score, and they will send Jordan Shepherd. The throw comes and cut off. Shepherd scores a 2 RBI single for Josh Forrest. Denny scores, Shepherd scores, and now 7-0 for the Sooners. So at first base, with a 2 RBI single, is Josh Forrest. Pitch high and inside. 1-0. Should Farrow reach, we'll get back to the top of the order with Chris Head. They're underway at Waldo Henderson. Roger Surrett has action over there. Just off the plate. Good speed for Josh Forrest at first base. Low and outside. But Paul Doucette, get back to Paul. One of my favorite stories to tell about Paul. Everybody's got their favorite stories about this guy. He's been pitching for a long time. The big right-hander. And we did a game one time in Sydney, the Pelham Canadians and the Sooners, in there for a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike. And Paul Doucette pitched 13 innings in an extra inning win for the Sooners over the Canadians on a hot night at Susan McEachran. Pitched all 13 innings, well into the, I think the low 200s was his final pitch count. Shepherd goes, and that'll be a walk for Chris Farrow. So Shepherd at second, Farrow at first.
Now back for Nova Scotia, number 21, Chris Head, center fielder, Head.
Chris Head, the center fielder, his 4th plate appearance. But Doucette pitched all 13 innings, pitch count in the 200s, and his catcher, Matt Denny, finally ended it with an RBI single, I believe it was, to win the game for the Sooners. Next day, Paul Doucette got up and got on the boat and went lobster fishing. Pitch outside, 1-0. I was talking to some folks about it the next day, about the performance. They said, well, the thing about Doucette is he's got hands. Can't remember the analogy, but just he's got big hands, big old meat cleaver hands. So he's able to get a good grip on that baseball, take the pressure off the arm. In there for a strike. So again, great to have you with us, Deuce. Runners at second and first. Chris Head, bouncing ball, that's just foul down the third baseline. 1-2 pitch again on Chris Head. Chris flew out to center, grounded out to short, and then walked and was stranded back in the third, or the fourth. And right on cue, we say hello to Roberta Head. Thank you, Roberta. Watching from River Ryan and cheering on Chris and the Sooners. Pitch low and outside. The 2-2. Just low and outside. Also talking about Chris Head is Lars Honey Toast. Thank you, Lars, saying it's nice to see Chris Head and Cam Marling in a Sooners uniform instead of a Dartmouth Moosehead Dry. Of course, they're used to wearing the black and white of the Moosehead Dry. Runners go. Chris Head takes one off the right forearm wrist area. And walking it off, that shook him up. Trying to squeeze that fist. It looks like he's all right. So a hit by pitch here, hit batsman, Chris Head. He'll head down to first, and the bases are loaded.
Batting for Nova Scotia, number 45, Ken Long, the first baseman, Long.
So Ken Long is the 8th batter of the inning. 2 runs already in, the bases are loaded, 2 outs. You know, a 1-hit performance so far for Cam Marling. And the Mercy Rule run is represented right now by Chris Head at first base. This is dangerous territory for the Capitals. Again, with Head running with 2 outs at first base, you got to figure anything in the gap or a hard hit ball down the line that gets to the wall, that might do it. Swung on by Kenny Long to second, nicely fielded by Buckingham, and that will do it for the Sooners' threat here in the 5th inning. So the Sooners send 8 men to the plate. 2 hits, 3 left on. They do push across 2. And now lead 7-0 in the bottom of the 5th.
No Newfoundland Labrador errors, 3 men left on base at the end of 5 complete. Nova Scotia 7, Newfoundland Labrador no score.
More from the Twitter, Mark Healy on Twitter, the coach, talking about this St. John's team. You know, this is a team that, as well, the Winmar Capitals, really short-handed this year. They've had some retirements, they've had injuries. A lot of guys couldn't make it over due to work commitments. So it is kind of a short-handed group for sure for this Winmar Capitals team. Cam Marling going out there for his 6th inning. And again, for you friends watching from away, it's not easy to get from Newfoundland Labrador to the mainland. If you've ever made that trek, either via the plane or the ferry, especially the ferry, from Newfoundland Labrador, it can be a long journey. So a short-handed crew here for the Capitals. Right now they're in tough against this Sooners team. Sooners, they pretty much have everybody here from their normal contingent with the additions of Cam Marling, Chris Head. Justin Davies added, Craig Field.
Leading off the top of the 6th for Newfoundland Labrador, number 20, David Buckingham, second baseman Buckingham.
And again, following up last year's outstanding performance at the Nationals and 2 straight Nova Scotia titles, this is a Sooners team that is as confident as anybody here. I believe that is your night. Yeah, that's a good one. Your nightcap game tomorrow. The Sooners versus Chatham for Friday night. That's going to be a fun night at the Ball Yard. Again, a rematch of last year's crossover game where the Ironmen won in 9 innings. 10 innings, I do believe, actually, over the Sooners. On a wet, cold night in Mount Pearl. That was still to this day probably the best baseball game I've ever done. And one of the best games of any sport that I've had the pleasure of calling.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 7, Steve Krause, shortstop Krause.
There's an RBI single for Dave Buckingham. Steve Krause, the shortstop. So the second hit for the Winmar Capitals. Krause grounded into the double play. in his first appearance in the third inning. First pitch in there for a strike for Cam. So again, Marling recovering from leukemia back in March, getting stronger and stronger every day. And they're going to send him out there for the 6th inning. Swung on to left field, and Shepard is there. He'll make the catch quickly into the infield. Buckingham will stay at first. So Cross flies out to left field.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 14, Scott Stockley, the catcher, Stockley.
Here's catcher Scott Stockley. Catcher, or the Stockley, sorry, 0 for 2. Lined out to shortstop and grounded out to second. Swing and a miss. Marling from the stretch. Mentioned that quirky delivery from the stretch. He also brings the baseball out of his mitt for a split second during his delivery or during his pitch in motion. And then puts it back in the mitt before delivering. That is hit well to left field, but settles under it does Shepard. And he'll make the catch for his second straight putout. Well, Stockley gave it a pretty good ride. It comes up just short of the warning track, and Shepard settles under.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 51, James Walsh, left fielder Walsh.
Here's James Walsh. James 0 for 2, grounded out to second and struck out. Lays off that pitch. High and inside, 1-0. Again, Ontario and Quebec coming up at 1 o'clock here from Ironmen, or Ironmen, I should say. 4 o'clock, Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Opening ceremonies at 7 o'clock. And then 8 o'clock, Chatham and the Kamloops Sun Kings. That Ontario-Quebec game, that's going to be a real good one. The perennial powerhouse Tecumseh Thunder and the what is essentially an all-star team from Quebec. Not much of a lead at first for Buckingham. 3-1 the count coming up. On the Sooner, or on Walsh. Marling comes to. And a 5-pitch walk for James Walsh. So the Capitals have something going on here with runners at second and first.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador.
That's the first walk surrendered
The center fielder, Dyke.
by Cam Marling. He did hit a batter back in the 5th. And 2 hits surrendered so far. Mike Dyke, the center fielder, flew out to center field and grounded out shortstop. Pitch just on the outside corner, 1-2, or 0-1. Continuing to try to set the scene for you here at this beautiful ballpark. Isn't it enough that we get the gorgeous field and everything else? We also have the neat little addition of small planes flying by all the time as well. There's an air base right beside us, so you always have these small airplanes going over the field. Add a little bit more atmosphere and character. Here on the Chatham side of Miramichi City. The 1-1. Pitch out in front. 1-2. Well, and of course, well documented, Ted Williams, the splendid splinter. Used to come to this area all the time. Every summer after retirement came to the Miramichi area for salmon fishing along the legendary fishing shores of the Miramichi River. The 1-2 from Marling. Swung on the left field, and Shepard might have his third put out of the inning. He does. Hung up there for him. Mike Dyke flies out to left. Now the Capitals send 5 men to the plate. They get 1 hit. They'll leave 2 on. About 3 fly balls to left field to their undoing in the top of the 6th inning.
For Newfoundland and Labrador, the top of the 6th. No runs on 1 hit. No Nova Scotia errors.
So we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Fans reminded the next scheduled game for Ironmen.
Sooners up 7-0.
At 1 p.m. Ontario versus Quebec. Opening ceremonies tonight at 7. Immediately followed by the host at Chatham.
Going to be a party in Chatham tonight here at Ironmen Field. Again, opening ceremonies at 7, and the Ironmen take the field for the first time against BC, the Kamloops Sun Kings. Aces Baseball checking in on Twitter. Thank you, the Aces. A shout out to the town of Pasadena. Beautiful Pasadena, Newfoundland, Labrador. Keeping the St. John camps relevant. Number 2 club in Newfoundland. And the Aces on Twitter. Great to have you guys with us. They're in Pasadena. Why do I think Pasadena? That is a big... Not sure if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure that is a big volleyball town as well in Newfoundland. They've turned out a whole bunch of volleyball talent there in Pasadena. I seem to recall hearing that one time while over there on the rock. Great to have you guys with us in Pasadena. So you're on Community One, the leader in local sports webcasting in Atlantic Canada, the 2015 Canada Senior Baseball Championships from beautiful Chatham, New Brunswick. Here at Ironmen Park. And also at Waldo Henderson Memorial. This is Robert Legault. Thank you, Robert. Great to have you with us. Spreading the word in Quebec. Thanks very much for that. That's great. Get the word out there to everybody in Quebec. Be able to check in and watch their team. I was going to say, I couldn't remember a Quebec team in St. John's last year, and Robert mentioning that this is the first time in 6 years that Quebec has sent a squad. The LBMQ. So thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate that. And helping us spread the word in Quebec, and good luck to those guys. Again, they're coming up versus Ontario in our 1 o'clock game. That's 12 o'clock for you guys in Ontario and Quebec. A little noon hour baseball for you. Have lunch and watch some senior baseball here from Chatham. New pitcher is Corey Ewart, who was playing first base. So Corey Ewart on the mound. Christie right back to Ewart, and he shows the defensive prowess on that play. And to the new first baseman, Greg Barry, the left-hander. So Barry at first base, Corey Ewart to the pitching mound.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 20.
Christie out 1-3. There's Matt Denny, the catcher. Well, again, I mean, this is a Capitals team. The 4 spot in the first inning really hurt them, but since then they've settled in nicely. Trying to build it for the weekend as it goes along. Certainly this one looking like it's going to get away from them. trying to build some confidence as they move along. The 1-0 pitch to Matt Denny. And there for a strike, 1-1. Should Denny reach, we'll see Jordan Shepard. Or we will see Jordan Shepard. And should Shepard reach, we'll see Justin Brewer. 2-1 on Matt. Again, this is a guy who is a perennial leader in batting average in the Nova Scotia circuit. Up high, 3-1. Not uncommon for Matt to have that average up in the mid 400s. The 3-1. Above the belt, and that'll be a walk for Denny. So Denny down to first base. Here's Jordan Shepard.
Number 32, Jordan Shepard, left fielder Shepard.
In there for a strike, 0-1. A swing and a miss, 0-2. 2 quick strikes on Shepard from Corey Ewart. Out in front of home plate, 1-2. Matt Denny anchored down there at first base. So Ewart wastes a couple in front of home plate, now 2-2 on Jordan. Had an RBI double, flew out to left field and walked and scored a run. Nice play, or actually that's going to get past the shortstop Krause into left field. Station to station goes Matt Denny. He'll settle down at second base, and Shepard has himself a single. So Shepard now 2 for 3. Here's Justin Brewer. Let's check that. This looks like a pinch hitter for Justin. It's going to be Rob Baron.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 27, Robbie Biron.
So Rob Baron into the game. Sooners fans giving it to the PA announcer, saying Robbie Giron. Now, for anybody watching at home, and Sooners fans don't realize this, that is not uncommon in these situations because it is an absolute mad scramble to get lineups, especially for the first game. And obviously, these guys don't see these Sooners very much. It wouldn't be if I had never seen Rob before. I might have accidentally scribbled down a G instead of a B, but I've seen Rob before, so I know it's Baron. But honestly, in the PA announcer's defense, and hopefully with me moving forward for you guys at home, sometimes trying to get those lineups from the teams and getting them written down for your scorecards is just an absolute gong show. So, a little patience there with the PA announcer calling Robbie Giron. And a lot of times, too, you're trying to pick up. There's some managers who write very legibly, and there are some who don't. So those lineup cards can be hard to read. Bouncing ball to the pitcher. Ewart looked at third, but nobody there. And they'll come to first. So what essentially turns into a sacrifice for Baron. The 1-3. Shepard to second, Danny to third.
Now batting for Nova Scotia, number 24, Phil Brown, the right fielder Brown.
There's Phil Brown, the right fielder. Phil singled, had an RBI, and flew out twice to right field. Just missing above the belt. I was joking, I did the Old Timers tournament in Yarmouth a couple weeks ago. I'd get on the PA and beg the managers to please get their lineup cards in. A lazy ball to right field, and no problem out there for power. That'll do it for the Sooners' threat here in the 6th inning. The third flyout for Phil Brown to right field. He's 1 for 4.
Nova Scotia in the bottom of the 6th, no runs on 1 hit, no Newfoundland and Labrador errors, 2 men left on base at the end of the 6th complete.
1 hit, 2 left on, no runs come across, no St. John's Winmar Capitals errors. And we go to the top of the 7th with the last chance for the Capitals. They got a long road ahead of them, trying to put up 7 runs. There will be a new pitcher on the mound. Jason Mosier. So Mosier will get his first look. You can close the book on Cam Marling. 2 hits for Cam. And these are my highly unofficial stats. But 2 hits, 4 walks, or 4 strikeouts, sorry. 1 walk, no runs. Through 6 innings. So 6 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs to close the book on Cam Marling, and he is the winning pitcher on record. Mosier will come out to see if he can finish it off.
Now pitching for Nova Scotia, number 28, Jason Mosier.
And again, he'll face the 4, 5, 6 hitters, Gerald Butt, Mike O'Neill, and Corey Ewart. So we could be looking, if they can go quickly here, we could be looking at a pretty substantial break, relatively speaking, between these 2 games. Next game at 1 o'clock, Ontario and Quebec. And 4 o'clock, Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And at 8 o'clock, Chatham and BC. That Manitoba-Saskatchewan game is the Brandon Cloverleafs versus the Saskatoon Sun Kings.
Leading off the top of the 7th for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 9, Gerald, third baseman Bott.
There's Gerald Butts. And Gerald flew out to right field and was hit by a pitch back in the 5th. 0 for 1 for Gerald. And Butt will take strike 1. Thanks to everybody who's reached out on Twitter. And has a ball. It was really close. It looked like he might have caught the pant leg of Butt, but called for a ball, 1-1. Thanks to Brian Richard, seeing Brian Richard down here walking around. Brian in charge of accommodations and media and a whole bunch of other stuff here. Helping us out, getting us settled in. Brian, the president of Run New Brunswick. If you ever see Brian, he certainly looks the part. I was talking to him yesterday on the phone while he was running in mid-30s heat in early afternoon Chatham. Chris Farrow, no problem for Chris. Making that difficult play look pretty routine. He was the pitcher last night for Matt Denny. 6-3 for Chris.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 77, Greg Barry, first baseman Barry.
Of course, that's not uncommon for a Chatham local, Miramichi local. They love this heat. 0-1. Terry Gallivan, great point here, and mentioned by Terry about Newcastle, about how they have the town across the river. Again, you have, for you folks from watching away, Miramichi City, you've got Newcastle on one side, we're on the Chatham side. And Newcastle, a rich baseball tradition as well. This whole area, Miramichi, they love their baseball here. Of course, Jason Dixon, a lot of folks remember Dixon, who pitched for the Anaheim Angels, was an American League All-Star one year back in the 90s. Jason's still very active in the baseball community here in New Brunswick. That's a great point Terry Gallivan talking about. I think it was the Newcastle Cardinals that was the team for a long time. 3-2. This is Greg Barry, again, who came in to play first base. Low and inside, and Greg Barry on base. So a single for Greg. And there's Corey Ewart, who was at first base and then came in to pitch. Here's a great one. This is on Twitter from Skell on Twitter. First pitch high and outside from Jason Mosher. Huge shout out to Mount Pearl second baseman Rob George. Wife just found out she's having a second set of twins in 10 months. Go Caps. How was that? So Rob George going to enjoy his time off in Chatham while he can. He's going to soak it up the next 4 days. His wife expecting a second set of twins in 10 months. Pitch low and outside, 2-1. And the reigning national champs checking in on Twitter. The Langley Senior Blaze. We'll have a new champion this year, but Langley took it last year in St. John's. Pitch low and outside. Thanks very much, guys. Great to hear from you. Thank you for those kind words. We'll talk to you next year. Those were that Langley Blaze team. They were a bunch of big dudes. That was one of the more physically imposing baseball teams I've ever seen. Corey Ewart to the pitcher Mosher. There's Brent Power.
Now batting for Newfoundland and Labrador, number 20.
The Capitals down to their final out.
Right fielder, Penny.
Mike O'Neill will go to second. And here's Dave Penny. He'll hit for Brent Power. Oh, 1-1, first pitch strike. On a swing and a miss for Penny. just outside 1-1. And Matt Denny's going to go talk to Mosier. Donnie Burke on Twitter chirping Corey Christie. Saying Corey looks a little bit heavier on the camera. Tease Corey about being the old man of this group. In there for a strike, and the Capitals are down to their final strike. Ontario, the Tecumseh Thunder. And Quebec coming up at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock for you friends in Ontario. Strike 3 called. The Sooners victorious here in the opening game of the tournament. Penny strikes out. 7-0 for Sydney. Cameron Marling